Hey everyone, this is MNL2, and today in this video, I want to take a look at all of the roller coasters that reside at Six Flags America and find out which roller coasters are going to deliver the most intense experiences. For the purposes of this video, I will not be including every single coaster at the park in this list because some of the smaller coasters don't exactly have any intense moments. Also, when I refer to intensity or an intense moment, I mostly interpret it as having a feeling of sheer speed, considerable positive G-forces, or moments that make you feel like you are going to get ripped apart from the ride. Another thing, keep in mind that this list does not reflect how much I like each ride or how I rank them overall in the park. This list is simply based on which coasters I find to be the most intense. One more thing, if you find yourself enjoying any of my videos or find them interesting, informative, or entertaining in any way, then please feel free to like the video below to help out the channel and to help me to keep providing good content for your enjoyment. Thank you. Aurora is the park's classic GCI wooden roller coaster and excuse me, wrong roar, and that's not even Roar, that's the Joker. Come on, editor, get yourself together. Roar is the park's classic GCI wooden coaster, but unlike the Roar that formerly operated at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, this Roar has not been RMC'd. So I've actually ridden the Roar at Discovery Kingdom in like 2013 or something, and so it was really cool to basically get back on this coaster, especially after riding the RMC version a few years ago. So out of all the GCIs that I've ridden, Roar definitely falls close to the bottom in terms of intensity, along with rides like Invader and Ghost Rider, if we're counting that as a GCI. Roar isn't exactly boring, but it definitely doesn't have that many powerful moments. It also doesn't really feel like a modern GCI either, as this is one of the oldest GCIs out there. Not only that, but it doesn't even use Millennium Flyer trains, which in all honesty, I don't even mind. The PTC trains were pretty comfortable and the ride wasn't too rough. It definitely isn't smooth, but since the ride isn't too extreme, the roughness isn't a bad thing, and is actually a good thing because I personally enjoy rougher wooden roller coasters as long as they aren't so rough that they hurt. Like a certain wooden coaster right now. Anyways, looking at the layout, this coaster is definitely dominated by laterals and the feeling of sheer speed, as there's little to no airtime moments, even in the backseat. The laterals are actually pretty aggressive, especially at the bottom of the first drop, and the rushing speed sensation as you haul through the infrastructure is pretty awesome. Overall, this isn't a super intense roller coaster in general, but it is enough to be top 5 when it comes to intensity at Six Flags America. So, ironically, I actually talked specifically about Joker's Jinx in my video ranking Kings Island's coasters by intensity, only because it, for the most part, was extremely identical to Flight of Fear, and also because I didn't have footage of Flight of Fear. So to sum up all of my thoughts about these coasters, I absolutely love the countless head choppers as well as the intense, powerful inversions, as they would sometimes cause me to gray out. Joker's Jinx in particular is my favorite Premier Spaghetti Bowl out of the 3 that I've ridden, and that's only because Joker's Jinx doesn't have any trim brakes at any point during the ride, unlike the Flight of Fear coasters, which both feature a mid-course that almost bring you to a dead stop. Joker's Jinx flies through its layout and traverses the second half significantly faster, as there are some intense maneuvers and transitions towards the end of the ride. It's a fairly intense coaster, filled with plenty of head choppers and positives. I've already somehow managed to bully this ride quite a few times in my other videos, so maybe it's time to praise this coaster. Out of all the hyper coasters I've ridden, this one is actually my second least favorite, because if you've seen literally any of my videos, then I'm sure you know exactly which hypercoaster is my least favorite. Anyways, Superman Ride of Steel was one of Intamin's first hypercoasters, and sometimes it's hard to believe that this ride was made by the same company that built Skyrush. Like, come on. Why can't every Intamin hyper be as good as Skyrush? Superman Ride of Steel has a somewhat mediocre first drop as it isn't super steep, but in the back row it will pop you up out of your seat just a tad. The rest of the ride is, interesting. So first you will start with a super wide and drawn out turn. It's not extremely banked and will actually offer some decent sustained laterals. The following giant airtime hill is definitely best experienced in the front row, and actually this ride in general is 100% a front row ride. Back row is honestly trash on this ride. Anyways, the main reason that this ride is even this high on this list is mostly because of this gigantic double helix, and similarly to Steel Force's giant helix, this one provides some super sustained positive and lateral G-forces, which surprisingly made me gray out for an uncomfortably long amount of time. If you don't know me, well, I actually hate excessive positives when they last too long. Hence why I hate Goliath. And hence why this coaster is right down there with Goliath. But when considering the factors of intensity, this is definitely a notably intense moment. The next airtime hill will also provide some decent floater, and I found the next double helix to not be as powerful as the first one, but it still drives through with enough speed for you to at least feel the positive G's. Finally, the ending series of airtime hills is probably one of the weakest series of airtime hills on a hypercoaster I've ridden. But at least this coaster has a final series of airtime hills. Or airtime in general. In conclusion, Superman Ride of Steel is definitely one of the less graceful hypercoasters out there, and delivers some outstanding feelings of sheer speed, as well as some powerful positive and lateral G-forces. Mind Eraser is the parks Vekoma SLC, and to be completely honest, I really don't want to have to assemble the alliance of underrated roller coasters that I formed a few months ago. But as team leader of the Scream Lantern Coaster First Kong Alliance, I will now deliver a very special speech of recognition in the form of poetry. This recognition goes out to Mind Eraser, a Vekoma suspended looping coaster who heartbreakingly receives endless amounts of hate and criticism. Now for my speech/poem. Oh great one, oh grand one, oh how I wish to have seen thou in the sun. However, it unfortunately rained a ton. Regardless, thy ride is extraordinarily fun. Thine inversions beeth oh so very powerfuleth. Thou art doeth beeth truly fulleth of moments so very intenseth. Thine souls of thine guest whom's rideth thee have indubitably been cleanseth. Thou art smootheth and so graceful, left not a scratcheth on my skull. Oh, thy ride gets inexcusable hate, and if thou disagreeth, then I shall have to debate. This rideth beeth fun so very intense, it's aggressive and extremeth, and so hence. The Eraser of Minds is one of the greatest coasters yet to be, along with every other Vekoma SLC. So in conclusion, if thou hateth on this ride, then please escort yourself off to the side, because I simply haveth absolutely no time to deal with thy preposterous crime. I loveth this ride with alleth my heart. It's astounding, astonishing, exquisitely art. Noweth I'm finally doneth with this thing, so let us advanceth to number 1th, Batwing. Batwing is the park's Vekoma Flying Dutchman, and is actually a super rare coaster model that I'm super glad to have ridden, because this ride has been on my bucket list for several years. It's a very unique roller coaster, as there is only one other left operating in the world, which is Nighthawk at Carowinds. So although this coaster is a flying coaster, it provides such a cool and strange combination of gliding in the flying position and soaring in the lying position, because this ride frequently switches between laying you down on your stomach and then laying you down on your back. Unlike the B&M Flyers, this coaster provides some pretty extreme forces on some of the elements. For example, the final helix before the brakes exerts so many positives downwards while you are on your stomach. This ride also provides excessive lateral whip and snap on the position transitions, as well as on the double inline twist at the end of the ride. The vertical loop is also such a bizarre feeling, as it is shaped the exact same as a standard sit-down coaster's vertical loop, yet feels pretty similar to a B&M Flyer's pretzel loop. I would say that overall, this ride is definitely way more on the intense and aggressive side, and not at all graceful like B&M flying coasters. And so with that being said, without a doubt, I find Batwing to be the most intense roller coaster that you can experience at Six Flags America. Anyways, those were my thoughts regarding the coasters of Six Flags America and how they compare to one another when it comes to intensity. Keep in mind that this list is solely based on my own personal opinions, and I fully understand that some of you might completely disagree with anything or literally everything on this list. So if that's the case, feel free to comment down below what you find to be the most intense roller coaster at Six Flags America, or the most intense roller coaster that you've ridden is. But anyways, if you did end up enjoying the video, then please remember to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you'll be alerted whenever I upload a new video. But until then, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.